Bernstein says Bitcoin could hit 1 million within the next 10 years as it initiates coverage of MicroStrategy, which is a strategy that all companies should be studying right now. Okay, but Michael Saylor, he takes advantage of the dips. He continues to DCA, and he just recently said that I'll be buying Bitcoin when it's $8 million, not million in his portfolio, $8 million each. So what about 9 million? Maybe he's going to stop at 8 million, or maybe he's just making that up. But I do think that Bitcoin will be in the millions probably within 10, 15, 20 years, right? I don't know about when it's going to hit $8 million. If we go through hyperinflation, which looks like it could be the case, then yeah, maybe $8 million is around the corner. Okay, keep in mind, inflation is not going to stop. It's only going to get worse. And the money supply of USD keeps on being inflated like 5, 10, 15% year over year over year over year. It compounds to hundreds of thousands of percent over, let's say, the next 15, 20 years. Then everything will be super, super pricey. And that helps assets. It drives asset prices upward. So if you think 1 million Bitcoin or 8 million Bitcoin is unfathomable and it's just outrageous, well, just wait 20 years and see how much a loaf of bread is, or how much a Happy Meal is at McDonald's, or how expensive a car or a house is. That maybe you'll think otherwise, right? But basically this guy, he knows what's going on. And that recent announcement that MicroStrategy is going to raise $500 million, well, that's been upped to $700 million because demand is so vast. There are so many companies that are buying these convertible notes of MicroStrategy because why not? The Bitcoin strategy is working and the stock keeps on going upwards. But we did get a couple things. We got PPI inflation reading for wholesalers. Unexpectedly fell 0.2% in May. Seems kind of weird. Like, we're getting a lot of unexpected data that's coming out. So CPI came in less than expected, but didn't really fall. It just came in less than expected. And now we're getting wholesale prices showing that we are falling. Is inflation really coming down? Well, I guess the good thing is, again, this gives Powell the ammunition to cut the Fed fund rate sooner than later, right? Maybe that's the whole point of this, is to provide data so that he could say, well, inflation is coming down, so we're okay to cut, right? Maybe down the road, because he just declared yesterday there's only one cut this year. But you know what? Earlier this year, he said 3. Who's to say that during the next FOMC meeting, he won't go back to like, okay, you know what? Let's go to 2 rate cuts instead of 1. It may happen, especially if economic data starts showing that the economy is starting doing poor, right? And that's exactly what's happening. Janet Yellen says U.S. debt load is at a reasonable place. If it remains at this level, first of all, there's 2 wrongs there. Number one, it is not reasonable to have nearly $35 trillion in debt. And the second wrong is it's not going to remain at this level. We know that. Just the interest payment alone on the debt is $1 trillion a year. So at the very least, it's going to go up $1 trillion every year because we're not going to pay that $1 trillion of interest. You know where we get that money from? We borrow more money and we print more money. So we actually don't have enough money to pay it off ever. But that seems to be the trend. Just keep on going. Keep on borrowing, keep printing more, which is why inflation will never cease to exist. It's always going to be there. But, our Treasury Secretary says it's fine. It's all fine. Don't worry about it. I got it under control. Here's the funny thing. And, this is kind of the same story with me. So we have a congressman that after he learned a little bit about money, he became very pro-Bitcoin. And not only that, he believes we should end the Federal Reserve. That's kind of how I am. Like, you know, when I first started this channel, when I first started learning about Bitcoin, I just kind of knew about Bitcoin, but I didn't really understand money. And I'm not saying I'm an expert at understanding money, but the more I learn about money, the more I learned how, as a country, we are built on a house of cards, really. And the only reason why the house of cards haven't collapsed is because we have a money printer. That's the only thing. Countries have their money printers, right? If you didn't have that, the whole system would have collapsed a long time ago. You know, so that's the only thing really sustaining the system is this money printer. And, you know, we have this weird relationship between the Treasury and the Fed. And of course, yeah, it's just a really bad system. We have endless debt, which we have no intention to ever pay off, right? We used to have a debt ceiling, but somehow that was voted against. Now we don't have a debt ceiling, so we can, again, accrue as much debt as we want, although we have to pay the interest on that debt, which we can't pay. So again, what does that lead to? More borrowing and more printing. And also, by the way, higher taxes. So it's funny. If you learn actually about money, I mean, most people don't, but if you actually take some time to actually kind of study how the Federal Reserve works, how the Treasury works, how the money system works, you cannot not be bullish on Bitcoin, right? It seriously is going to increase your faith and conviction in Bitcoin by 100-fold. And it certainly did for me. And, you know, I'm glad to see that even Congress people are now seeing the same thing. Will the Federal Reserve be ended anytime soon? No. But it's good to see that there are people that kind of understand how it's a broken system. And the Federal Reserve was created not to help people, but to help the banks. Hey, the world's largest bank out of China, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, now calls Bitcoin digital gold and calls Ethereum digital oil. That's kind of a weird comparison. But even banks, even one that's out of China, the biggest one, is saying that Bitcoin is digital gold. Think about it. And there are a lot of rumors that China is about to fully embrace Bitcoin and crypto. Like even Bybit now, all of a sudden, Bybit, one of the biggest exchanges out there, all of a sudden is now accepting residents out of mainland China. And there's no way that they would be doing so if they didn't get some kind of approval first. So I think we're starting to see the signs that China is about to embrace Bitcoin in a big way, which is why ETFs are allowed in Hong Kong now. But hey, soon you may have 1 point something billion people exposed to Bitcoin.